business transactions taking place within the geographical boundaries of a nation is known as domestic or national business. International business is a broad term comprised of both the trade and production of goods and services across the frontiers. What is the meaning of intangible goods? So intangible goods, in other words, it means the services which are being exported. Hello everyone, I am Purnima, faculty in the Department of Commerce, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. I welcome you all to this session. In this session, we will be having a discussion on Chapter 11, Session 1, that is International Business. Now, we all know that business, trade and commerce is an important part of our life. Now, we also know that internal trade refers to trade within the country, whereas external trade refers to trade between different countries. Now, in this international business, we will be having some more knowledge on what is the trade between different countries and why it is necessary, and what are the various procedures and what are the various modes of entry into the external trade. Now, let us understand the meaning of the word international business. So, business transactions taking place within the geographical boundaries of a nation is known as domestic or national business. So, in other words, the internal trade takes place within the boundaries of a country, and it is also referred to as internal business or home trade. Manufacturing and trade beyond the boundaries of one's own country is known as international business. So, international business is, it goes beyond the boundaries of our country, so that we call it as the international business. Then, it involves not only international movements of goods and services, but also capital, personnel, technology, intellectual property like patents, trademarks, know-how and copyrights. So, by international business, we should not only understand that it is only trade between goods and services, but it also refers to exchange of capital. So, we have foreign direct investment flowing into India. We also have the personnel. So, people are coming from abroad and appointing Indians to their factory for their organizations. Then technology and intellectual property rights. So, they will be handed over to the licensee or the franchisee. And also we have the trademarks and patents and know-how and copyrights. So, these are all being shared between the nations. So, that also is included in international business. Then, international trade in services such as international travel and tourism, transportation, communication, banking, warehousing, distribution and advertising has considerably grown. The other equally important developments are increased foreign investments and overseas production of goods and services. So, in international trade, services like the tourism industry, it has grown in leaps and bounds, and we also have the transportation industry, communication industry, banking, warehousing, distribution and advertisement. All these has considerably grown. So, the other important developments are related to increased foreign investments. So, there is a lot of foreign investments coming into India, and also overseas production of goods and services. So, people are just outsourcing the manufacture of goods and services. All these are a part of international business. Then, international business is a broad term comprised of both the trade and production of goods and services across the frontiers. So, it is international business. It includes both trade and production of goods and services across the frontiers. That is, trade means buying and selling of goods and services across the frontiers, so that we call it as the international business. Then countries, why is there a need for international business? That we should think of. So the first reason is countries cannot produce equally well or cheaply all that they can need. So there are certain products which had to be come from that particular country only, or certain products which are produced, they will be produced in a better or a cheaper way if the raw material is coming from one particular country. So we need this international business. And the second reason is unequal distribution of natural resources among them, or differences in productivity levels. So we have known that the earth is full of natural resources and it is distributed in an improper manner. So in some areas of the earth we find lot of gold deposits, in some area we find lot of oil reserves, in some area we have lot of other resources. So the resources which are there from region to region, as a result of which the international business has become a necessity. Then availability of various factors of production such as labor, capital and raw materials that are required for producing different goods and services differ among nations. So whatever then we need, that is the availability of capital, then labor and raw materials. So they differ from country to country. We can see that in the developing countries the labor is available very cheaply, so we can get skilled labor. So most of the developed countries, they outsource some of the manufacturing of the goods to these developing countries where the labor is available very, very cheaply. So that is why we need international business. Then next one is labor productivity and production costs differ among nations due to various socio-economic, geographical and political reasons. So the labor productivity and the cost of production of the goods also, so they differ from one country to another country. So why there is a difference in the cost of production? Because of various reasons relating to the socio-economic, geographical and political reasons. So because of these reasons there is a difference in the cost of production. Some countries are in an advantageous position in producing select goods and services which other countries cannot produce that effectively and efficiently, and vice versa. Now we can see that certain countries, they are well versed in production of certain items of goods, whereas the same goods which are produced in other countries, they do not have the same expertise. So that is why we need that international business. Then next is we have a comparison between international business and the domestic business. Now in international business, if we think about the nationality of the buyers and sellers, so in domestic business the nationality of the buyers and sellers will be the same. So both of them belong to the same nation, whereas in case of international business the nationality will change. So the buyer will be from one country and the seller will be from another country. So in this way there is a change in the nationality of buyers and sellers. Then next one is nationality of other stakeholders. So in case of domestic business, we can see that almost all the stakeholders relating to the business, they will be coming from the same nation, whereas in case of international business, the stakeholders will be from a different nation. So we should observe that the stakeholders, whether it is the investor or the consumer or the employee or the employer, so everyone will be coming from different nations. So the nationality of the stakeholders in case of international business, it will differ. Then next one is mobility of factors of production. Now in case of any business organization which is working in the domestic sector, we can say that almost all the factors of production will be from the same area itself. And there is also a free movement of the factors of production. That is, the labor, capital and other things can move very easily in case of a domestic business. But whereas in case of an international business, the mobility of labor is limited or it is restricted. So we cannot have mobility of labor in international business, and mobility of labor, mobility of capital, mobility of technology. For all this, there are restrictions in international business, but in case of domestic business, we don't have such restrictions. Then, customer heterogeneity across the markets. Now, if you think about the customers relating to the domestic business, the most of the customers will be belonging to the same country, and as such, they will not have much socio-cultural differences. But in case of international business, the customers will be heterogeneous. We can see a wide range of customers who will be belonging to different parts of earth, and they will also be having their own socio-cultural background, and they will be having their own customs, traditions and food habits. So we can see customers' heterogeneity in international business. So the next comparison between international business and domestic business is difference in business systems and practices. Now, what do we mean by difference in business systems and practices? So whenever there is a trade within the nation, we do not have much problems. But when there are trade between different nations, each nation will have its own kind of a business system. It will have its own business laws and rules, for which the business community has to adapt itself. So, whatever the rules are made for the businesses of that nation will not be applicable for those people who are engaged in business from another country. So, they will have separate rules for international business and the rules for their own domestic market. And as such, those who are engaged in international business, they have to adapt to that business system of that country, so in order to carry on trade with that nation. So this is the differences in business systems and practices. Then the next comparison is political system and risk. Now each country will have its own political setup. So if one country belongs to a democratic setup, the other country may not belong to a democratic setup. It may be ruled by a king or a monarchy. So when there is a difference in the political system between countries, the business people who have to go and do trade there, they will have to adapt themselves to the kind of the political system existing there. So they have to know what is the culture, what is the social norms of that nation, and only then they can do the business. And as such, most of these businesses or most of these political systems, they favor the goods of their own nation, whereas they put more and more restrictions on things which are coming from abroad. So as such, they don't give much encouragement to the imports of their country, and this will be one of the limiting factors for international business. Then next one is business regulations and policies. So almost all the nations will have their own business regulations and policies for their business community, and as such they will be giving lots of encouragement for exports of their nations, whereas for international business or for the imports, they impose more and more tariffs and other duties etc. for the international business, which will have to be paid by the importers or the exporters. So this is one difference which we see between the international business and the domestic business. Then next one is currency used in business transactions. Now there is a difference in the currency. In case of domestic business, we can see that the currency used will be of the same type. When it is within the borders of the nation, the same currency can be used in domestic business, but in case of international business, the currency used will be different, and as such the importer and the exporter will have to come to an agreement relating to fixing the value of the goods which has been exported or imported. So this becomes a very Herculean task because the currency rate keeps on fluctuating and both have to agree upon one rate. So that will be creating confusions between the exporter and the importer, and this kind of a fluctuation in currency that we can see only in international business. Then let us understand what is the scope of international business. So, in the scope of international business, the first point is merchandise exports and imports. Now, what do we mean by merchandise of exports and imports, and also trade in tangible goods for exports, trade in tangible goods for imports? So, in international business, it is always involves the trade of tangible goods or those goods which can be touched and felt. So, in international business, they give lot of importance for exports and imports of tangible goods. Then, second one is service exports and imports. Now, we not only export tangible goods, but we also export intangible goods. Now, what is the meaning of intangible goods? So, intangible goods, in other words, it means the services which are being exported. For example, we have the tourism business, we have the recreation business, we have the banking business, and we also have the warehousing business, and we also have this advertising business. So, all these are examples for service exports and imports of services. So, nowadays we see most of the people going abroad as tourists, and this will bring in lot of foreign exchange to that particular country. Then the next one is licensing and franchising. Now, what is the meaning of licensing and franchising? So, with the help of the license which we have got for the production, we just outsource this license to somebody else in a new country. So, we will be just giving them all the know-how to how to produce the goods for a certain fee, and they can make use of our own license, and they can make use of the technology available, and they can produce the goods, and this is one of the best ways of entering into international business. Now, if we can take the example of the McDonald's, so that is a very good example for franchising. Then next one is foreign investments. So nowadays we can see that foreign investments are flowing into India. So we can see that foreign direct investments are an important part of our business community. So whatever new businesses which are being set up, they are all with the help of foreign direct investment, and foreign investors find India as a very most attractive country, so which is full of market potential. Then next, let us understand what are the benefits of international business. So, benefits to countries. The first one is earning of foreign exchange. So, whenever we do trade in international business, so if you are engaging in exports of goods, so it will bring in valuable foreign exchange to the nation, as a result of which the nation will have favorable balance of trade. Then second one is more efficient use of resources. So whatever natural resources are available in the country, we can make it to the best use, so that when we are exporting, we can get more and more profits. Then improving growth prospects and employment potentials. So when international business, there are a lot of opportunities for growth of the organization. So an organization which is limiting its operations to only one country, it cannot make much progress. But if it wants to grow, or if it has its branches all over the world, then there is lot of growth potential. Along with that, there is lot of employment potentials also for the employees of that particular organization. Then fourth one is increased standard of living. Now, with the help of international business, we are able to increase the standard of living of the people. So, people who are accustomed to a particular standard of living, now they are having a comfortable living. Why? Because of this international business. So, with the help of international business, we are able to get all those goods which cannot be manufactured in India, and whereby we have successful in increasing the standard of living of the people. Next, let us understand the importance of business or the benefits to the firms. So, prospects for higher profits. So, whenever a firm which is engaged only in domestic business, if it enters the international business, they will have opportunities for gaining higher profits because they will be earning in the currency of that nation. Then next one is increased capacity utilization. Now this capacity utilization, so most of the countries wherein there is manufacturing sector or the production unit, so they will be, if they are catering only to the domestic needs, so they will be underutilizing the capacity. But in case of those countries where there is underutilization of the production capacity, they can always take orders from the international exporters or the importers and make use of the capacity available in their plants so that they can make better utilization of the capacity. Then next one is prospects for growth. Now in case of international business, most of the business firms have greater prospects for growth. So they can expand their markets, they can expand their firm operations, they can just have branches all over the world. So in this way, there is lot of growth potential for the business organizations. Then next one is way out to intense competition in domestic market. Now, if the firm or the firm's products is facing lot of competition in the domestic market, then the best way to do away with the competition is to go in for the exports. You just start seeing the markets abroad, and if they are willing to buy the product, then you can always export your products to that markets. Then next one is improved business vision. So most of the firms which are engaged in international business, they have an improved vision of the organization. So the organization can fare better if it enters into international business. Next, let us see what are the different modes of entry into international business. The phrase modes of entry into international business means various ways in which a company can enter into international business. So there are various ways in which the country can enter into international business. The first one is exporting and importing. So here the manufacturer or the producer, so he will be engaging export of his products, or he may import some of the raw materials from other nations. So this is one way of entering into international business. Then exporting refers to sending of goods and services from the home country to a foreign country. So from the home country, if you are sending the goods and services to a foreign country, that amounts to exporting, and if you are purchasing from them, then it becomes importing. So importing is purchase of foreign products and bringing them to one's home country. So when you purchase, it becomes imports. When you sell, it becomes exports. There are two important ways in which a firm can export or import products. So that is direct and indirect exporting and importing. So there are two ways in which we can have direct imports and exports, or we can also have indirect imports and exports. Then in case of direct exporting, a firm itself approaches the overseas suppliers and looks after all the formalities relating to exporting importing activities, including those related to shipment and financing of goods and services. So in case of direct exporting, the exporter will himself look after all the formalities relating to the export-import activities. activities. So, including all relating to the shipment and financing of goods and services. So, everything will be looked after by the exporter. So, such kind of an activity we call it as direct export. Now, what about indirect exporting or importing? So, it is one where the firm's participation in the export-import operations is minimum, and most of the tasks relating to export or import will be handled by some middlemen such as the export houses. Now, in case of indirect marketing, so the exporter just produces or manufactures the goods and services, and all other formalities, it will be taken care of by the middlemen or the export houses. So, with this, we come to the end of this session on international business. Hope you have all understood. Thank you.